sometimes companies feel that when they're doing well, they don't need to join the chamber, and I think we all need to be part of the chambers, because I have, as you know, I represent right now, several counties. There's no names mentioned, but there's one particular county where the chamber is not very active, and you can see the difference, because if you leave it up to just that school district or the county government in that area, it's not enough. You've got to have the chamber involved. So I want to congratulate you for being involved in the chamber, because it really makes a difference on that. So thank you so much. What I wanted to do is talk about a couple of things, what's happening in Washington, D.C., and then take some questions. But before I do that, I wanted to just give you a little handout that we presented. And this is only just some of the monies that have come into Wilson County from 2009. I've been here since 2005. As you recall, I got elected in 2004. But this is just the last 3-4 years, just to give you an idea on what the view should be of the federal government. The view of the federal government, sometimes people have a negative view of the federal government. It's certainly not a perfect entity. There's a role for limited government. But just to show you the role of the federal government on Wilson County, highway dollars, number one, school dollars have come in, earmarks, and I'm one of those that I believe earmarks are important. In the past, we haven't done any earmarks for the last year and a half, because the perception was you get rid of earmarks, it'll reduce the deficit down. The dollars are still going out. The federal government's doing it. It's done by the executive branch. I think I know my district a lot better than the president does. And otherwise, those dollars might not come in. I know we got some dollars for our first responders, other areas where we're able to put in the dollars specifically. And now the majority, the Republicans, are saying, we might consider this next time. So the ban might be considered next time. I hope it does, because this will allow me to come in and do, if you get somebody for the courthouse, repair the courthouse, fix up the courthouse, and maybe some other areas where I was able in the past be able to pinpoint certain monies. The highway bill, as an example, we used to get a certain amount of money where we would say, highway department, I want the money to go for this area, for this area, for this area. We're not able to do that. And I say this because, again, it's trying to find a balance in Washington. The bridge that went to nowhere in Alaska was a bad example of an earmark. That was about $100 million to represent or to help about 100 people. That was bad. But most of them are going into projects in small communities that usually might not be able to get the money. So I say this because there's some changes in Washington, and trying to find the right balance with government. There is a role of government, a limited role. Too much of it, when it becomes abusive, when it goes too much, then it's wrong. But we got to find the right balance up there in Washington, D.C. So this is just an example of federal dollars, highways, and if you see something you disagree, let me know from this. But I think when they go to our schools, when they go to our roads, or when they go to other ones, I think this is a good idea. I know we were just in Atascosa, see one of the board members here. We're in Atascosa. We just got $5 million there for a new community center, a building there, that will help not only Atascosa, Wilson County also, another county also. There's 3 counties, and Karnes also.
We're trying to go into Live Oak.
And Live Oak also. So we're able to do that. So those are ways that we can work with the communities, and certainly I want to continue working. As you know, redistricting. I had all of Wilson County on the redistricting. They took out Stockdale, trying to balance the different districts' populations, trying to balance them also by ethnic. Not packing too many Hispanics, because this new congressman over there comes in from the valley. So they have to find a balance by law. We have to do that. So I was just in Stockdale. We just got them some in a gridlock. People talk about frustration, being frustrated because things can't be done up there in Washington. I want you to include me in that number of people that are frustrated with Washington. You know, when I was in the state legislature, we could sit down, Democrats and Republicans, and work things out. In Washington, it's hard. People talk about bipartisanship, but the moment you lean over and work with the other side, you get attacked by your own side. I see this on the Democratic side. I see this on the Republican side. For example, no names mentioned. There was a vote up there, and we had a Republican that voted, a few Republicans voted with the Democrats on one of our amendments. Immediately you see, no names mentioned, but the Republican leader going up there talking to him, saying, basically, what are you doing voting with the Democrats? On the Democrat side, when I voted with the Republicans several times, at the beginning, they don't do this anymore, but when I was a freshman, the moment I voted, and I voted for the Republicans, with the Republicans, then you get targeted. You know, they'll go in and say, what are you doing voting with the Republicans? And Bill, as you and I spoke about, that's what's wrong with Washington, D.C. is because people talk about bipartisanship. But the moment somebody goes out there and works with the other side, their own party, both sides, Democrats, Republicans, will go up to the member and say, what are you doing on that? Redistricting, if you recall, I worked with the Republicans. The redistricting is a very, very controversial issue. But I was still able to work with Republicans, and basically the agreement that we worked out was there'll be 4 new congressional seats in the state of Texas because of the population growth we had in the state of Texas, 4.3 million individuals. In Texas, 65% were Hispanics. Then you add the African Americans and other minorities. 90% of the growth that we had in the state of Texas were minorities. And so my thing is on redistricting was, well, I think 2 of those should be Hispanic Democrats, and then the other 2 should be Republicans. The Democrats were saying, no, 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 you know, they should be, all of them should be Democrats. The Republicans, some of the Republicans were saying, no, all 4 of them should be Republicans. And basically, you know, all the courts went up and all that. At the end of the day, what happened? We ended up with 2 Hispanic Democrats and 2 Republicans. In what Lamar Smith and I have been talking about for a long time. So Lamar and I have been talking about trying to work this out. But you saw, I got attacked saying, why are you doing working with the Republicans? And then, of course, on the Republican side, some of the Republicans were being pushed back saying, what are you doing working with the Democrats here? So I say this because this type of mentality is what hurts our country. Because the easy bills in Washington that have been easy in the past, for example, the highway bill, we finally, that's always been a bipartisan, it finally was able to pass, and we put it in a conference committee, we're working on that. In the past, it's been a bipartisan bill. The Export-Import Bank, which is so important for businesses that want to export, that one had always been a bipartisan and had trouble. Finally, we were able to just get it passed now. The Farm Bill, which is important to our ranchers and farmers here, and I always tell the congressman from New York and other places, hey, you know, when they think of Farm Bill, they don't think it's that important. But I say, hey, no farms, no food, point blank. And plus, almost 70% of the Farm Bill is actually nutrition. School lunches, food banks, 3/4 on it is that. And I told my ranchers and farmers at some of the Ag Committee, you know, you can't say, oh, they're taking too much because, you know, who do you think buys this food for the school kids for that? So we got to make sure we work together and not be pitted against each other. But the last time we passed the Farm Bill, we passed it 300 plus on the House side. This time, they're afraid to put it on the House floor because they're afraid that it'll be torn up. So we're going to wait for the Senate first and then work it ourselves there. So bills that have been very easy in the past have become very controversial. This year, since it's a presidential year, if you think we had gridlock at the beginning of the year, you can imagine the next few months how it's going to be, and then we'll wait till after the November election. And I say this because Washington is in a gridlock, and it's very frustrating to you, and it's very frustrating to people like myself that we want to reach out and work with both Democrats therefore, some of us, the blue dogs, as you know, I'm the only blue dog Democrat in the state of Texas, we get caught in the middle because you try to work with both sides to get it done. The other thing that's hurting Washington right now is both sides are trying to purify your ranks. What does that mean? That means that the Democrats want to elect more liberal Democrats, and the Republicans want to elect more conservative Republicans. And therefore, if you look at redistricting, you look at it the last 10 years, or should I say the last 30 years, the number of swing districts where you get more moderates is becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. Because in redistricting, what are the Democrats trying to do? More liberals. And what are the Republicans trying to do? More conservative. And therefore, you're getting people entrenched on both sides, and the folks in the middle are the ones that we get caught in the middle, and that number is becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. The moderates, like myself, are becoming smaller and smaller in Washington, D.C., and therefore you're getting more entrenched. So the gridlock that we have is for several reasons, but certainly what's been happening in redistricting and more entrenched in the purification the party. I know members on the Republican side that were targeted by certain groups because they were too moderate. So they've been targeted. Some have lost already. And some probably will lost also. I know some Democrats that have been targeted because, and I used to be one of them. They left me alone. I guess they think they can't beat me. But if you recall, it was the liberals that used to come after me. I find it interesting that, don't mean to mention one of the elections, but Ciro Rodriguez is running, and the conservation group he and the conservation group used to attack me, saying Henry's a friend of George Bush, and now the new ad against him, they turned against him on a dime, are now saying what? Ciro voted with George Bush, and he's not one of us. So this is what happens. People, the groups, especially the super PACs, are now purifying the Democrats and the Republicans, trying to get them more liberal or more conservative. So that adds up to an environment that it's hard to get things done. I feel that I'm one of those eternal optimists that we'll still get things done one way or the other. We're moving some progress on some of them, but some of the big issues that we have to face, for example, if you look at the George Bush tax cuts, they're going to expire at the end of the year. If you look at the taxes that are coming up, we need to review those because a lot of them are going to hit you right in the pocketbook. So we need to go ahead and review those and probably keep most of them. I've always voted to extend all of them, but there's going to be a review this year. At the end of the year, also, we're going to have the sequestration. If you remember the sequestration back in August of last year, when the debt limit, you're going to hear about it. And I've always say, people say, vote against the debt limit because you can't raise the debt. But if you look at the debt limit itself, the money has been spent already. The way you don't address the debt limit, you address the spending before, because what you do is you spend the money over here in the appropriation. The debt limit is, so you don't default, is raised up. If you want to address the debt limit, you address it in the appropriation part, because the debt limit is money that's been spent already. And in the past, it was interesting, when Bush was there, Senator Obama was saying, vote no, and Cantor and Boehner, the Republican leaders, were saying, vote yes, stick with Bush. Obama was saying no. Now, it's the other way around. Now now you have Obama saying you got to pass it, and Cantor and Boehner are saying no on that. So it's interesting, wherever the precedent is, one side is going to go against that, and that's the politics that we're talking about. So, when you look at these issues that we're facing up there in Washington, D.C., you're going to see the environment, and you're going to see the tough issues, and the tough issues of tax extensions, the sequestration that I was talking about because of the debt limit. We're going to be facing the sequestration, which means that we have to cut another $1.2 trillion. We have already cut $1 trillion back in August when we did the debt limit. But we made an agreement that we were going to cut another 1.2 through a super committee. But if the super committee couldn't do its job, which it was kind of hard for them to do it, but they didn't do do it, then the sequestration means that automatic cuts were going to come in. The problem is now that some folks that made that agreement are saying, no, 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 let's not do the sequestration. Let's go ahead and change that. My thing is, I think we're all in agreement in this room that we have to cut the deficit. The problem is, how do you cut it? That's where the difference is. My thing has always been, you got to put skin in the game. Everybody has to put skin in the game. By that I mean is, everybody has to take a hit, because if you don't, if you say, like some folks are saying right now, don't cut over here, but cut all this over here. Don't cut over here, but cut this over here. Then after a while, you're going to have so many loopholes saying, well, we're not going to cut over here, and then we're going to end up back in the same place. I'd rather have skin in the game where we cut, areas that we want. Nobody wants to cut education. Nobody wants to cut the military. Nobody wants to cut Medicare or Medicaid for, hospitals or doctors. Nobody wants to cut that. But again, we all got to have skin in the game to do that. So I say that because at the end of this year, you're going to have the debt limit again, come up again, the sequestration, which means we got to decide what we're going to do. Are we going to make changes, or are we going to just let the $1.2 trillion cut come in? And then we got the George Bush tax cuts come in that expire at the end of the year. And we have to make those decisions. So either this would be one of the most interesting lame duck sessions I will see, or we're going to punt it and wait till another time. Anybody want to guess? My thing is probably going to punt it for another time. Instead of saying let's get to it, it's going to be punted. I think that's going to happen. Then we got to deal, before we get to the election of this year, November, the presidential election, and we got the big ticket items. We have the doctor's fix. Any doctors here? I don't know if there's any doctors here, but the doctor's fix also is the Medicare reimbursement. It will cost about $300 million to do a doctor's fix. I always tell the doctor, okay, you don't want your taxes to go up, but where do you come up with the $300 million to do a permanent fix? So that way, as you know, periodically there's cuts to their Medicare reimbursements. So we got to come up with that money to address that issue. So what's happening now is we now have, it's a blue dog idea, pay as you go. If you're going to do something, you got to either pay for it, which means look for additional revenues, or look for cut somewhere else, you do it. We're not putting things on credit card anymore. We're not doing that anymore. We put the wars on credit card. We spent over $1.2 trillion on both wars. Already doesn't include the lives that we lost, but just that. We put the Medicare Part D that was put on a credit card, and other things that they put on a credit card. We don't want to do that anymore. We either say pay for it now, or look for the revenues, or cut somewhere else. When we would pass something, we would get some savings from somewhere, or cuts from somewhere, and add it over here. But we took the low-hanging fruit. Now it's going to become more difficult. And it's going to become more difficult because of what we're seeing right now. The budget is at $3.8 trillion. Just do the math with me on this one. $3.8 trillion. The money coming in, taxes, fees, and all that, is $2.5 trillion. So you got 3.8 minus 2.5, that will leave you about 1.3. That's the deficit that's been there both under Democrats and Republicans. So some people have said, Henry, you're a former business person, why don't you just cut everything down to match the revenues? All right? My job as a congressman, if I was here just to do, if that would happen, where we cut it from 3.8 to 2.5, my job as a congressman will be very easy. And probably Amy, who's my deputy chief here, Daniela, my media person, and of course Mario also, who does a lot of the outreach, their job will become very easy also, because I would go to Washington just to check on your Social Security, on your Medicare, Medicaid, entitlements, and that's it. No money for transportation, not a single penny for education, not a penny for the military, not a penny for Homeland Security, not a single penny for health care. That will be it. I would be going up to Washington, okay, everything looks fine, come back home, and that's it. You ask me about health care that would be the 3.8 down to 2.5. Eventually, the tough things that we have to do is, how do we handle Social Security, Medicare, and the entitlements? Because I just gave you the budget. 3.8, most of it is what? Those entitlements. The moment we talk about raising the age or putting a copay or increasing the fee, what happens? You're against seniors, you're terrible, if you were born in another world and you're not taking care of our seniors, your mom and your dad and all that. If a Democrat does it, the Republicans will run a 30-second spot. If the Republicans say it, then the Democrats will run a 30-second spot against what the Republicans say that they're against the elderly population. We have to get real and address this eventually. It's not going to go away. We can't put our heads in the sand and say it's going to go away. 3.8, 2.5, 2.5 revenues coming in pretty much matches our entitlements. We have to address it at one time or other. The only way we can do it is by both Democrats and Republicans holding hands and say, okay, let's do it together. Because otherwise, I see it, and I've seen this for my years in Congress. One side says it, the other side will attack them, the other side says it, the other side. I saw that on the health care. I saw this on the Paul Ryan. Democrats attack Republicans, Republicans attack over there. Eventually, we've got to address it. Otherwise, we'll be talking about this for a long time. The other thing is revenues. And I voted for all the George Bush tax cuts revenues. But if you remember, and I remember I was talking to Amy about this, Boehner, the speaker, was on the House floor when Obama and him were trying to work out this big grand deal on the debt limit. Obama wanted about $1.4 trillion of revenues. Boehner was on the floor and said, I can do $800 billion of revenues. So you had President Obama $1.4 trillion of new revenues, and Speaker Boehner, Democrat, Republican, was talking about $800 billion. They said, oh, we can't work it out, and so it's it. So I say that because eventually we probably have to look at closing some of the loopholes. There are some loopholes there that you'll be surprised why they've been getting it. Remember that, but the ones that built the arrows, remember the bows and arrows? There's some very specific rum in another place, and I mean there's some tax cuts there or credits there that should not be there at all. Many of them should be there. For example, your home mortgage deductions and those things are good. But there are some we need to review the tax reform. But if we can't even get to the budget, how are we going to get to the tax reform? And this is what I'm saying. It's the way Congress works, which is very unfortunate. We keep kicking these things down the road, but these problems are very immediate, in my opinion, very immediate, just like you know also, that we need to address. So I say this because we are seeing difficult issues, and there will be some very tough decisions, and certainly at the end of this election, we go into the lame duck. Either we'll have one of the most interesting lame ducks, or nothing's going to happen. We'll punt most of them out, which is unfortunate. Issues like immigration reform, very emotional issue, have to be addressed, whether we like it or not. We're coming in, in my opinion, we need to have three parts. Strong border security. And by the way, the number of people coming across is the lowest now since 1972. The lowest. In fact, if you look at the Pew report, the numbers of Mexicans going back are more than the ones coming over here. We need to have a strong border security. We have the largest amount of border patrol in our history now, 18,500 at the southwest border. Then you got to have a guest worker plan. Unions attack me for saying, oh, let Americans take this job. Well, there's some jobs, with all due respect, you give it out to the Americans, and if they don't want to do it, then somebody's got to do it. If you're in the ag or certain areas where somebody doesn't want to do it, and I talked to some farmers in this area, they say, look, we're asking, paying $14, $15 an hour, nobody's coming to come get this job. So somebody's got to do the guest worker plan, but it's got to be one where they come in and go out. We've done this before. If you recall, in World War II was good to immigrants and good to women also. Let me explain. When our men went to go fight in World War II, there was a vacuum. So women started filling in the positions. Nurses used to be a male-dominated area. So they started going in because the males were going on. The workers, we had young men that went to war. The U.S. government turned around to the Mexican government and said, hey, let's start a settled program. So people would come in, work, and then go back. And of course, as soon as the war was over, America said, thank you, Mexico, boom, send everybody back. But we still got to have some sort of guest worker plan to address the needs where Americans don't want to have those jobs. Then the last part is, the emotional part is, what do we do about the 11 or 12 million undocumented aliens that are here? I'll be the first one to say that if they have a criminal record, we need to get them out. They should not be here. No ifs, no buts for those individuals. The second thing is, keep in mind that you can't build the biggest fence out there and think it's going to stop everybody from coming in. Because 40% of the people that are here, 11, 12 billion, got here through a legal permit or visa. We need to, when we talk about immigration reform, it's not only what we do at the border, but it's when somebody comes here on the student visa or whatever permit, we got to say, time for you to go home or renew it or do something, because you can build the biggest fence, but 40% of them came through a legal permit or visa itself. Keep in mind, for example, the terrorists, you hear a lot about Mexico, this and this. The 9/11 terrorists didn't come through the southern border, they came through permits that they had, legal permits for that. So when we talk about immigration reform, we got to look at that. So those are the three parts, and we eventually have to address it. I don't agree with the Democrats in 1986 and President Reagan when they did an amnesty. That was an amnesty. I don't think we ought to do an amnesty. I think we got to get them out of the shadow, make sure they pay their taxes, they learn English, they follow the process, make sure there's no criminal record. Then we got to legalize them, get them out, because they do pay taxes. In fact, there's over $4 billion plus that are in the Social Security trust funds from undocumented aliens that are never going to collect that. So in a way, people say, well, they're taking this, they're there, but they're also paying out there. I'd rather take them out and look at who they are, get rid of the ones that are not supposed to be here, and then legalize them. No amnesty the way Reagan and the Democrats did in 1986, but at least get it started so we know who those people are. And then after that, we got to make sure we don't start the clock again, because they did immigration reform, and at that time, 3, 4 million. Here we are at 11, 12. So we got to make sure we do the security correct on the borders. So the taxes, the debt limit, the economy in general, and I know I see some bankers here. I appreciate. I voted against the Dodd-Frank bill, which has impacted the local banks. My thing was, if the problem was with Wall Street, then the focus should be on Wall Street. Why are you going to paint all the community bankers, credit unions, the independent bankers the same way? If J.P. Morgan is doing something with the derivatives and losing $2 billion, or whatever the case might be, maybe more than that, then we ought to focus on that and not paint everybody the same. So in Washington, there's a tendency of dividing. There's a tendency of painting people with the same paintbrush. We just got to be a little smarter on how we address the issues that we have. So I want to say thank you very much. I'll be happy to answer any easy questions. Deanna, if you have any easy questions. If you have any tough questions, I'll take email and I'll. But thank you so much for allowing me to. Questions? Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Congressman. You said something that everybody already knows that we got a problem in the White House. But it's not about getting smarter. Let's use common sense and get things done. That's what needs to be done. The education doesn't mean nothing really if you don't have the common sense.
Right.
And that's what we're having, because that's what we're down here hurting. Because the people up there in the White House, for example, I'm a retired veteran and I love my soldiers. And Memorial Day is a very, very sentimental time for me because I've lost some soldiers. But how can you send soldiers go fight in Iraq and Afghanistan and not pay them for a day or two because they can't make up their decisions? That is pure ignorance. I mean, we put these people in there to take care of the people, not to fight like little kids. What does mom and dad do with their kids when they're fighting in the bedroom? Right? And if we have a problem with these people, we need to point them out so we, as people, because we do have rights, to put them out and put somebody that wants to do the job instead of going out there and having mistresses and you know all this stuff. We don't need that crap. I'm speaking straight across the board because that's the problem we have in this country. I mean, I understand and I respect you're a well-educated man, but you know what? It takes common sense. You talking about money for schools? That's another issue there. Why is Governor Rick Perry is involved with that, and all these young kids coming out of school and going and getting loans, and then they don't have a job to pay the loans? It's wrong. It is totally wrong because we're cheating the kids, we're cheating all these ladies and the guys that want to work with kids, and that's the problem we have in this country. But nobody's addressing those issues because they're too involved trying to rob Peter. And that's what's happening. I mean, I got a list I can go on for 2 hours, 3 hours, because, you know, that's the problem we have. And as a veteran, I feel that, you know what, we need to take care of people. And they're not doing it.
Let me, first of all, let me say I appreciate and I really honor the service that you provided to our country as a veteran. As a member of Congress, if you look at my voting record with the veterans, I have A plus, 100% voting record, because I think that promise made should be a promise made, kept itself. And you know, the last time I was up there in Iraq and Afghanistan, I was just there a few months ago, I guess about 6 months ago. And you're right. I mean, you know, those folks are coming back. The ones that have already got back. I mean, you know, we got to put a priority on trying to help them get jobs. You know, we are creating jobs, but the government is not going to create the jobs. In December of 2008, we were losing 750,000 jobs a month. 750,000 jobs a month. We had, you know, we had all the George Bush tax cuts. We had everything in place, but the economy, part of it also because of what was happening across the world, that affects us. We now, the last month, we created 122,000 jobs, and they're private sector jobs, not government jobs. Actually, we've lost a lot of government jobs in the, you know, especially the teachers. You know, the state, which I totally disagree. I used to do the budget for both public and higher education. In the state of Texas, they cut $4 billion. You know, when you're cutting $4 billion from education, I mean, we got to have certain priorities. When the state is growing so fast, and I gave you some of the numbers that we have right now. In fact, you know, right now, 50.8% of all the students that we have in our schools are Hispanics. There's a new face of the state of Texas that's coming in. We got to make sure that we put priorities. Same thing with the budget. I agree we need to cut, but we got to set priorities. Everybody has to put skin in the game. We got to go ahead and do that. For the veterans, we have, there's good and bad. We put in more money in the VA a couple years ago than the whole VA history. The problem is we're now having problems with, all due respect, with some bureaucrats in Houston, some of those appeals. Mark, there's been, what, case after case after case. You know, what I don't understand is, and you know, we're having trouble in the Valley too with the VA clinic over there, where the VA, where the veterans go out and they get treated by a local hospital. Eventually, I want to see that here also, where you can get a voucher like we have in Laredo and the Valley also. But what we want to see is that if they go get care, then they should be, you know, they should be taken care of. Because some of those hospitals, private hospitals, and some of those doctors are not taking the VA, the veterans anymore, because they're saying we're not getting paid by the VA. My thing is, Mr. Bureaucrat and Mr. Bureaucrat, why don't you not get paid and say we'll pay you as soon as we can, like they've been telling the hospitals. Let's not pay you, Mr. Bureaucrat, for a while, so you fix this problem. I bet you that this would be something. By the way, I am also a co-sponsor, original co-sponsor of a thing saying that if the U.S. government doesn't pass a budget, then the members of Congress should not get paid also. I'm willing to go ahead and take those steps, but let's see what happens to that legislation. I mean, I'm one of those. I like to put skin in the game. I mean, that's very important, because once you become a stakeholder, then it becomes a little, you know, you play less games out there. So I appreciate what you're doing, and certainly I want to work with the veterans on that. I really appreciate what you're doing.
states as they should be. Is there any thought, is there any talk of actually doing that up in Washington?
You know, actually, I co-sponsor legislation with a good Republican friend of mine by the name of John Colson from Houston that actually emphasizes the 10th Amendment to say give those powers, you know, that belong to the state and give it to them on that. They can go anywhere, but just to show you, you know, some of my Democrat friends say, what are you doing? What are you doing? But I, you know, remember I served most of my life when I did my work was at the state level. I'm a big believer the state and local government. Closer to the people, the better it is. I'm in DC over there, but I still believe in the 10th Amendment on that. So those sort of things that we're looking at. We are cutting the number of federal employees. They're the lowest we've had since 1944. The number of federal employees is the lowest number we've had since 1944.
But they're also making more than.
Oh, yeah, and that's a problem.
Than they ever had.
But let me just talk about numbers. And I do want to talk to you about GSA and some of those crazy situations. But the number of employees we've had is the lowest. The two increases we had was in the military and Homeland Security. Otherwise, it's the lowest number. Now, what they get paid, I agree. I mean, there's some numbers out there that just beyond me why they do that. Now, when they do, you know, when you have GSA going off to Las Vegas spending $800,000, well, we've been asking them, hey, why can't you help us with this bridge over here in South Texas? We don't have the money, but they have the money to hire, what is it, a magician or whatever? Yeah, I mean, just beyond me. I mean, things like that, if there's something under the criminal code, should be prosecuted. Okay? Eric Holder on that, as a member of Congress, if we ask for the information, we should get that information. What follows next, you know, we got to see. But the same thing is, you know, it doesn't matter if it's a Democratic or Republican administration, we've got to have that information. It's up there. So those are the things that we are certainly looking at, working on. And, you know, I call things the way they are. You know, we might not agree with each other 100%. I know some of y'all have not agreed with me, but I call them. If you recall, Jesse Jackson, the son, had a resolution, I think it was in, to condemn Rick Perry on some comment, or it was that rock that he had. And Rick Perry was saying when he was running for president, said, look, it was there, I didn't do it, There was one to condemn him as a racist. Now, I know Rick Perry, I was his first Secretary of State. I was the only Democrat that voted against it. On it, you know, afterwards I had a couple of my Democrats, oh, I guess you like racist Republicans. No. I mean, I call it the way it is. And the Republicans do the same thing to the Democrats. It's just a type of got-you type of attitude that we have up there in Washington. We have to reduce, and I say this on the debt limit because it's coming up on that, but the debt limit is very, very important. By the way, do you know we still have some a loan from the Revolutionary War, I think for $58,000, that's still part of that. Why we haven't paid that, I don't understand. But we're paying right now over $200 billion a year on the interest rate. Over $200 billion on the interest rate. So we do need to reduce it, but again, the debt limit is, some people say, well, you know, bring it down and it brought, the problem is up here, the spending, the appropriations part of it, on it. If you look at some of the appropriation bills that have passed, I think one, how many passed? One or two? I think two. They don't come that much. Look at it, and I say this very gently because the Republicans are in charge, okay? And they could come in and say, you know what, we're going to cut everything in half. It hasn't happened. So I'm just saying is both Democrats and Republicans need to be a little bit more responsible on that. But it's where we cut. And I'm also, when I was at the state, I used to say core mission. What's your core mission? You stick to your core mission, that's it. We have so many duplicative programs out there that are just incredible. You have agencies that we're like, what the heck are they doing in this area? They shouldn't even be in that area. You know, they're going to be farm, they stay with farming. They're going to be education, like I said, but don't go into all those areas because you have bureaucrats that after a while, because once you create a program, it's so hard to cut it back. And it's better to really think about it before you create something bar drilling, which is rare for a Democrat to do that. The Anwar is basically, you put a postage stamp in the middle of a football field, that's what we're talking about. That's it. A postage stamp in the middle of a football field. That's what the Anwar is. But it's become very emotional itself. In 2005, we were importing 60% of all of the oil. 60%, foreign oil. Now it's at 36% of the oil. So we have brought it down. Different reasons. More domestic drilling, number one. Two, cars are a little bit more efficient. And the other thing is, the drivers are driving less. I don't know if you saw that in USA Today, there was people driving less or carpooling a little bit more. So it's come down. But, Phil, and I'll close with this, in December of this last year, we exported jet fuel and gasoline for the first time in 62 years. So, you've heard the argument, drill baby drill, and if you drill more, you have more, and therefore prices go down. And they've gone down a little bit, different reasons. But they've gone down. So why are we exporting jet fuel and gasoline where the argument is drill more, get more supply, and therefore your prices go down? The problem has been, and I'm not going to tell the energy companies who they should export or not, but the problem has been is countries like India and China are not the third world countries like they used to be. They're becoming industrialized. More cars are added every day in those countries itself. So we're the biggest consumer of petroleum or fossil fuel. Those countries do more. The surplus that we have over there is going to become smaller. Now, as we do that, I want to be less dependent. I want to see more. If you look at what Mexico, the U.S., and Canada are doing, we're the new Middle East of this century. Because we're, all combined together, Mexico, the U.S., and Canada, we're doing more on oil and gas. Eagle Ford is a big plus for IRS. Most of my counties are in the Eagle Ford, including this county. The Eagle Ford has a lot of good things, challenges, but as we're facing this, there's a lot of opportunities because all we want to do as Americans is have a shot at it. We just want to have the opportunity. No guarantees. Nobody gets a guarantee. We just want to have a shot at it. And I think a former small business owner, I know that all we want is just an opportunity. You give me a shot, I'm okay with it. Thank you very, very, very